Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Booze and Boobs podcast. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Katrina. Thanks for joining us today as we talk about some of our favorite horror movies.
We created this podcast as a way to give women more of a voice in horror. Men dominate most industries, especially film and television.
And that also goes for podcasts. We'll focus on female characters, motivations, or just expectations placed on women in horror, even if the situation is happening to a man.
We're excited you're here and we hope you love it.
Now let's get to today's movie.
Better watch out, you better not cry, better not pout, I'm telling you why. Because there's a little stupid ass preteen named Luke who thinks he's the center of the universe and he has deplorable mommy issues and he's in your neighborhood. So don't babysit him.
And that's the end of the
Anyway,
show, guys.
thank
What else do you
you.
need to know?
Record time.
Yeah, I mean that's it. Welcome to the Booze and Booze podcast. It is currently 7:17 a.m. I don't know who hates life more, Katrina or me right now, but
We are not morning people by any stretch of the means.
no, we had to record this early just because, life is happening and it's almost Christmas time and we have schedules, but we do prioritize the podcast, so I am proud of us. But I was walking my dog this morning before we started recording, and I was like, I could have gotten up really easily if I was at Disney World. But I'm
It's
like,
all about the motivation.
this is just to talk. I mean, that's cool too, but
Well,
like,
yeah. Well, and I believe today is technically like the first day of winter. So hate that
oh, I
for
think it
everybody.
is.
So I'm
Oh,
sorry, you guys.
the thing I hate about winter solstice is just that, unfortunately, from this point on, the days get a little bit longer. I'm a nighttime girly. I loved when I checked my weather app earlier this week and it was like sunset, 4:59 p.m. That is my prime. I know that there are people out there who like the sun, but that's not for me. My people are from the North Pole. So
The Alaskan people do not like the sunlight,
I
and
hate
that's
it.
given. And maybe that's why you're more of like night dungeony type person because I have been struggling without the sun. Let me tell you, it's hard. I mean, it can't do anything.
I
You
don't want to do
just,
anything.
I mean, maybe that, I guess that helps.
I'm
You
like,
just
oh, it's
need,
dark. Yay.
as long as you
That
have blackout curtains, it can always be dark.
my curtains aren't totally blackout, but I also like because I'm also like I guess seasonal. I don't know if that's the right word, but like most of the time, like especially if I'm gonna watch a new horror movie, I want to watch it in the dark. So I'm like, huh, gotta wait till fucking 8 o'clock
Yeah.
to start something. So I'm like, oh, I got off work and now I'm ready to like start my time and like do all the things that I want. And I like the dark. So when everyone's complaining about like, oh, we're losing daylight, but when I'm happy about losing daylight, you want me to be like, well, some people like the sun. And it's like, okay, well, some people don't. So if you want me to open my eyes to understand that there are things that other people like, you do the fucking same, sunny ass bitch. Not you, just
I
the
know what you mean.
pejorative sunny ass bitches out there. Hate it.
Well,
So
it's your time to not shine, okay? Live in your live in your gremlin shadow dreams as long as you can.
I will be a gremlin.
You know who else is a gremlin? Fucking Luke.
Ew, ew,
Fucking Luke.
you did not just want me in with that.
I did.
No,
And that really wasn't the plan. It just kind of happened. I'm a natural with these things.
there's different categories of gremlin. I like the dark. He is the dark.
Oh, truly. The and it's the dark like wrapped up in like a cute little
Mm-mm.
oh my rich boy persona, like
Luke,
facade.
Luke Luke voted for Trump this year.
Oh,
And then this
absolutely.
is how our lives are ruined.
Yeah, I oh, I can't go into like crazy detail because, things, this is public, but
Mm,
mm, mm,
I get it.
never mind. We'll skip that. We'll skip it.
I
You know
understand
what
what
I'm
you're
talking
saying.
about? You're talking about my Thursday. I had a discussion, not really, with somebody who I can't say anymore, honestly. We'll just have to cut it out because what if? What if my job is on the line here?
Ugh.
I need money.
Please subscribe to our Patreon so we can quit our jobs and we can spill all the tea about the misogyny we deal with in the workplace. Ooh.
I'm ready for it.
So, okay.
Okay,
Well, it's 7 a.m. and we're like 1.5 rants in. Let's talk about the movie.
I'm ready. And I know you said that you had a lot of feelings while watching this. So, what's the first feeling you want to talk about?
The first feeling I guess I want to talk about is like dread. Um, because when I was watching the movie, like to take all the notes yesterday, I was literally like, oh my God, is this movie going to be over? Just because, like, is it a good movie? Yes. It is a well done movie. Yes. Is it not entertaining, not enjoyable, not exciting? Also, yes. Like I was just like sick to my stomach. Like the more times I watch it, which I've only seen it like a handful of times, but the more I watch it, I'm like, oh my God. So,
I was pissed off the whole time.
yeah. So we are discussing Better Watch Out from 2017. And I know that there's like, so this movie is like an Australian production. Um, that's why the door handles are like so weird. Like it's an Australian set. Like the door knobs aren't like by people's hips. It's like
Mm,
up to people's like mid shoulder ish.
I don't know.
Um,
Australian people just abnormally tall,
some of them are,
or they don't
I
like
guess.
ergonomics.
I don't know. But there is like I've seen like some back and forth. Like it's a 2016 movie, it's a 2017 movie. But on Peacock, from where we were watching it, it says 2017. So I specifically wrote Better Watch Out 2017. Directed by Chris Peckover, actors Olivia DeJonge, Levi Miller, and Ed Oxenbould. And did you see The Visit from M. Night Shyamalan from a few years ago? I think before this movie came out. I can't remember. I think so.
Let me see.
Where the kids go to visit their grandparents.
No,
Okay, well, don't
don't
look
think I
anything
have.
else up about that. That's actually a pretty good movie, and you should watch it. But don't look up
Okay.
anything about it because it's M. Night Shyamalan, so you don't want to see a twist if you don't know what it is.
Ooh, I love twists.
Um, but the girl who plays Ashley and the kid who plays Garrett, Luke's friend, they're the siblings in that movie. So
Oh.
it's just kind of interesting that
Mm-hmm.
around the same time you get two people playing like roles together. So anyway, that's just like a fun thing. Also notable mention Virginia Madsen and Patrick Warburton. They're in this movie for like a grand total of maybe 3.5 minutes. But I'm literally just like, how do we get these fucking guys? Like
They're like, we're just gonna,
actors.
yeah. Well, and I'm like, when the dad popped up, I'm like, I know you. I shouldn't know you. What? And I was like, hmm, interesting. And then he was gone.
Yeah, I mean, and they're great. Like, okay, performances in this movie, really great. Unfortunately, super believable.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I feel like this is going to be another one of those like where we're just like kind of going down like our talking points more so
Hmm.
than just a play by play. And that's how I wrote my notes. It's like there's part that's like a home invasion. I'm like, meh, home invasion. Like we don't need like the nitty gritty. It's not like affecting the overall plot of what's going on. Do you want to summarize or do you want me to?
I'll summarize. I got it.
Action.
here's my summary of Better Watch Out. So Ashley is going to babysit Luke because his parents are going out for the night, and she is getting ready to move away because she is 17 or 18. I'm gonna assume 18, and Luke is 12. We open up, Luke is talking about how he's going to seduce Ashley and do get somewhere with her with the help of his friend Garrett. She gets there, there's a home invasion. Turns out it was Luke and Garrett staging the whole thing to get her quote unquote in the mood, which we'll get to that. So she gets pissed off. She tries to become all babysitterly, and she says, "I'm gonna tell your parents." He hits her over the head, holds her captive, and then lures in her ex-boyfriend and boyfriend, kills them with all the plans of killing her by the end of it and framing it to look like a home invasion. And but Ashley doesn't die, and Luke is a piece of shit.
Mhm.
I'm sure there's other pieces we could throw in there, but for the
I
most
mean,
part,
that's the most part. Like, it's the turn of him really just being, oh, just so disgusting. I mean, there's a lot of things to discuss, even just outside of his specific behavior this night. But it's terrible. And I mean, and it's a Christmas movie because it's just Christmas time, and there's fucking Christmas carolers who are popping up all over the neighborhood. And there's one point where you think like, oh, maybe she can get some help. No. If you're a Christmas caroler, be observant.
and that is the most, in my opinion, the moment that she is like running to escape, yelling for the Christmas carolers, and he throws a brick at her and hits her is the most unbelievable moment in this because Luke is not athletic in the slightest bit.
His vocal cords
And
aren't even athletic.
no, I mean, he's making all kinds of jumps with his fucking the whole time. Oh, it just, and
You got
I'm
it.
sure that was like intentional on their part with like the acting to remind people like this is still a prepubescent boy.
Mm-hmm.
Like he is a child because he's acting all big and bad. But no, I'm like when he hit her in the head with that brick and knocked her out, I'm like bullshit. I bullshit, no. She was running. Can you get out of my face? It was in the plot. I understand.
There was a lot that was in the plot that I'm like, wait a minute, how did we do this?
Mm-hmm.
Um, speaking of like the voice cracking and stuff, I put a note in there. It's and like literally within like the second scene or something like that. I was like, should have made it a drinking game to count how many times Luke's voice cracks.
No.
And then,
I read that and I was like, I would die.
oh, truly, because I was like, one, I'm not restarting this movie. Maybe I was 5 minutes into it, but I'm like, it was already so many, I'm not restarting it. And then it's like, I don't even want to know like how blackout I'd be.
Yeah. You would
Maybe.
not finish the movie. Halfway through, you passed out.
Oh, well, that's what Luke wants anyway. Ugh. Ugh.
Oh
Oh, that
my.
was a terrible joke,
Okay.
even for me. Disgusting. I hate him.
I did. Well, here's my thing. As disgusting as Luke is, I, f- I'm surprised that he just at the very end of it, like tied her up and then stabbed her in the neck. Like he did not do this for sexual satisfaction because he did not get sexual satisfaction from Ashley, which was how he initially like framed this whole thing with it, and maybe that's how he like looped in his friend Garrett, but like he didn't want to, maybe he did, but at the end of the night like he just wanted to kill Ashley so nobody else could have her.
I mean, I guess, because, I mean, and we'll discuss this. I mean, there's a part where he feels her up,
Mm-hmm.
and then he says, like, a few times, like, trying to get her to admit, like, she's not a virgin and stuff like that. So, like, there's something sexual in there, but it really feels like power, which is
Mm-hmm.
the toxic masculinity at
Yeah,
its peak.
which is I find ironic because the the boyfriends or of Ashley truly like in like they are the physical manifestation of toxic masculinity. But it's almost like helpful for them because they almost make it, but they don't. They weren't toxic enough, I guess. But I was like, and they still died because of this little fucking prick who just hides it. So I think it's more dangerous when toxic masculinity is like hidden behind the like, oh my God, I'm so innocent. I'm just blah, blah, I'm just a boy. You know, boys will be boys is dangerous.
It's an absolutely dangerous rhetoric.
So
It's
it's just
it's
frustrating
really
to watch this
destructive.
movie.
So we did make like our talking points, specifically like titled like toxic masculinity, not all men, and then they're good guys, quote unquote, that don't help. Do you have any other like things that called out to you?
I'm gonna have I'll probably add boy mom or slash mommy issues on here because I think
Mm.
we hit on that last time was we talked about how like boy moms are really cringy. Um, so I think the mothers out there need to step it up with their sons. The fathers as well, but we honestly can't count on them because they're steeped in toxic masculinity as well. So like,
I feel like that's a really unfair thing to say. Like we can't count. I
maybe.
mean, I'm not saying that we can't count on the fathers because look at us, we can't. But I mean, they're grown fucking men. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not our job to fix you, and I don't want to. And I mean, sometimes I've tried before, but look how great that's worked out for me. So I'm not
You
gonna
know,
do it anymore.
I feel like it's so difficult to, I don't know why, but it is difficult to talk to a man and have them understand your perspective. Because, like, when I talk to you or I talk to my wife or my sisters or something like that, there's one listening, two empathy, and it's putting, you put yourself in that other person's position and you go, man, that would really suck. Or I could understand how that would make me feel, but sometimes they just can't do it. So how does someone who is raising a child who doesn't have the social abilities to be empathetic and listen and understanding, who's just me defensive, how does that raise a well-rounded son?
I think that
So that's
there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, like to some extent, I appreciate you never wanting your child to deal with any quote unquote suffering
mhm,
because it's not enjoyable and you want to give your kid everything you want them to have a great life. And I completely respect that, but you have to be realistic. I don't think you have to go all the way to the extreme that some parents do of, well, my life was terrible or the world's going to chew you up and spit you out. So just like,
mm,
if you're
too bad, so
sad, go
sad.
cry. Like, I mean, I think there's a happy medium, and I don't think that any parent is going to get it 100% right.
Sure.
And that's okay. Like, it is okay to make mistakes because you making the mistakes and being able to acknowledge that and like have that conversation with your kid either in the moment if you can or maybe when you're older and then you've realized your mistakes, like that's also teaching your children nobody's perfect. Everyone makes mistakes. People can get hurt through some things, but you can try to find a path to make things better or mend relationships if you can. And then there are some people that are just too prideful that that will never ever happen. And that's
Hmm.
also, I guess, a lesson that some people are going to have to learn.
I
I'm
don't know
not
why, but
talking
when you
about any
said
experience myself here there.
no, no, no. No, but when you said like when parents say like, oh, well, my life was so hard and you had it so easy, it's like that's the point. That it's to improve and to not pass down the generational trauma. Like, the buck stops with me. That's what's supposed to happen.
Ends with us. And I don't
Yeah.
care. I'm not gonna I don't want to say I'm not going to accept Colleen Hoover slander because that's not what I'm saying, but I really, really, really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was a well done movie. And people who don't understand that it's not a movie about domestic violence, it's about a person who was in different situations in her life where that was like a piece of her life, but then there's also so many other things going on. Like it's a story about a person, not an event.
Hmm.
So if you don't get that, then that's on you. So great movie, fantastic. And I love it. I thought it was so fun. Like the way that they just get crazy, like those outfits, insane. The set design, why was it like that? But it's a specific choice and they chose something instead of just being like neutral, basic, something for everybody. And I'm like, go on, do it. Also, every person in that movie, gorgeous. And I'm like, let me just watch a movie about beautiful people that's shot on actual film and has a whole Taylor Swift song in it. Movie of the year, besides Long Legs. So I this is not an Ends With Us podcast. I just love Blake Lively, okay? That's it.
Tell the people how you feel.
I love her. We're getting in the movie now. We've had 17 side conversations. I would argue all relevant as I would for pretty much every podcast episode. But let's talk about this movie. So, Ashley, when I know you said she's like 17, 18, I feel like her age is a little ambiguous because they're she's drinking. I think the US is the only place where the drinking age is 21.
Well,
But
earlier in the movie, he says, he's talking with Garrett and he goes like, Garrett's like, she's like twice your age. And he's like, it's only a 5-year age gap. My parents have a 5-year age gap. So that's kind of how I
okay.
did that math.
Okay, so then she is like 17 or 18.
Yeah, because he's like, I'm
18
almost 13.
18 is the drinking age in Australia, but the movie is set in America with Australian set design and like some Australian terms. Because the whole thing is like Ashley is doing this one last babysitting gig right before Christmas because she's about to move away to Pittsburgh. And I have to assume that that's supposed to be Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I don't feel like any other Pittsburgh in any other state is like as name notable.
Right. Nobody
So,
just says Pittsburgh. Like, like unless you're gonna go to like Pittsburgh, Kansas, and you're
but you're
already in
saying
Kansas.
Pittsburgh,
Right.
Kansas.
But you have to say Kansas behind it.
So that's exactly why I feel like there's that. So it's a little confusing. But okay, so she's 17, 18. She's leaving, pretty much right away. The first scene is she's driving over to Luke's house and her mom calls and was like, "Where are you? I thought you were gonna like finish packing or whatever." And she's like, "No, like I'm gonna do this. It'll just be a nice send off. Like I really like the family. Like I get to say goodbye to everybody." And then, she goes on and then she's gonna get to the house. But then we go into Luke's bedroom where him and his friend Garrett are in there. Garrett's like playing video games. Luke is on his little iPad talking about like the way that you can arouse a woman is like through fear and like puts them in the mood. And I'm like, I really love horror movies, and I'm not saying like adrenaline like can't help, but here's the thing. Luke is a 12-year-old boy who doesn't understand any nuance or like romanticism around so many things. Like it's just so twisted and it's so juvenile. Like that's why I say like it's such a good movie. It is well done because like it's all correct, but it's not right. Oh, and like when you were watching this very first scene where you see Luke and Garrett and like what they're talking about after you've seen the movie, you're just like, oh my God, they're disgusting little creatures.
Yeah, because they had to plan all of that in advance. So like they're just chilling, getting ready for like action. Like let's go, let's start the whole thing. And like Luke does start off small, like, oh, a spider. And he just gets so cringy with like, oh, I saved you. Like if you have to say it, then it's not sexy, first of all, especially because it's coming from a 12-year-old. And I think what really is like frustrating is because Ashley tries to be nice when they're like watching the movie. First of all, couch etiquette is you don't sit directly next to each other on a giant freaking couch. Okay.
There are so okay. This whole movie, like the whole plot line, absolutely Luke and Garrett's fault. They are the villains, they are the bad guys. But topic of discussion, why was Ashley sitting so close to Luke? Why at some point did she say, if I was your age, I'd date you? Why was she like, you're such a charmer? Like, I'm not saying that any of this blame falls on her because she was also at some point being like, because he's kind of trying to flirt with her, and she's like, no, I'm too old for you. Why are you drinking champagne? Like, why are you like doing this? Like, this is weird.
But then why did she share the champagne with him after and continue to let him drink it? Like, and then it was frustrating because like maybe she maybe she's still like infantilizing him because like she started babysitting him when he was 8. So like she's saying things of like to be nice and be like, oh well, something something. But I'm like, you cannot give, especially like a kid like Luke, you can't give them like a morsel of a compliment because they will take it and run and be like, she wants me so bad. No, she doesn't. She's
You
being
sound like me.
nice. Don't be nice to Rachel or she'll fall. No, just kidding.
You gotta stop being mean to me, or I'm gonna fall in love with you. Um, well, and then I mean, can we talk about the dad? So like Patrick Warburton,
Mm-hmm.
the mom and dad are downstairs while Luke and Garrett are upstairs, talking to their shit. And then Ashley shows up, the dad answers the door, and he's like, you look breathtaking. And Ashley's like, oh, thank you. Like it comes off like really playful, like that he's just being nice. And then he's like, well, I hear like you're leaving us because Ashley's moving. And she's like, yeah, I'm going to Pittsburgh, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, did I give you permission to leave? And if you're just having normal conversation, like you can see like this is acceptable banter. But when we're placing it in the context of this movie, it's really like, who the fuck are you? Like, shut the
Yeah.
fuck up.
Well, and honestly, I thought like if it gives off like a fun vibe, like, oh, he's just like joking with her and like she's taking it and like that's all acceptable because they're both like understanding that this is a joke. And the joke isn't, Ashley, you're a piece of shit for moving away from me or something like that. So I think that's, and I think that's something that like with age, maybe some men learn is where the line is. Because a lot of younger people don't understand, like, if I don't know you like that, you don't get to talk to me like I'm your bro. So I think there's some nuance that the dad has that a lot of men take a lot of time to get, or probably never even get in their lifetime, because it also comes with charisma. But in the aspect of it being in this movie, it does give off a slightly creepy vibe. So I kind of get it. But at the same time, I don't think he's being creepy. It just is how the movie is.
I see that point. I feel like it is creepy, but it's a creepy that we've come to accept. So we brush it off too. And that's just where the fine line is, because like I'm obviously like a push buttons person. I'm pretty like harsh with my words. So like I think both can be true.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is creepy and we allow it. It is just a joke. So it's one of those things like you weren't going to please everybody. And I think using that as kind of like an introduction into family dynamics that are in that house is interesting because you get Patrick Warburton, who's quote unquote, like happy-go-lucky. They're going to like the Christmas party or whatever it is. Like he's got his funny tie on. Whenever Virginia Madsen comes in the room, she's, picking at him. Like she's complaining, like, are you wearing that tie? What are you doing? Like she's on him. She's like, I need a drink. Like, but then they kind of have like a little bit of like a sweet moment where they're connecting, but then like they're about to be out the door and she's like, take that like ugly ass tie off. And then he pulls out a different Christmas tie that he has. He's like, always be prepared. So we get these men who are doing things. Oh, yeah, because they have this whole conversation where she's like, are you sure you've never like sucked a dick before? Because
Oh yeah, I'm like, oh,
he
okay, we're going there.
cares, he cares about like his appearance and like relationship to other humans kind of thing. So she takes that into like a negative. So like women experience and can act out behaviors of toxic masculinity as well.
Hmm.
Um and your first instinct is to be like, she's a hag, she's an old bitch. Why is she like bugging on him? He's just being like la di da di da. But then it's like, well, also consider obviously she has no problem voicing her opinions. Why is
Right.
he doing shit that he knows pisses her off? So
He
like
likes to get a rise out of her.
I
Yeah.
I I just think that there's a conversation about, like she's this, that, the other, but we excuse this behavior from men.
Hmm.
And
Well,
then
and it's when it comes from a person who is in a position of power, that also becomes an issue because like obviously he's either he or his wife are like signing the paycheck, so like Ashley has to essentially like laugh at his jokes and kind of go with the flow if she doesn't want to rock the boat or anything like that. But so
also a
and
great
it
point.
she's been there for 4 years, so who knows how many jokes he's made. And maybe this was the mundane of them. Who knows?
Well,
I don't
and
know.
also to
It's
consider, if she's been babysitting for 4 years, that means that she's been working with that family since she was like basically Luke's age, like 13, 14.
hmm.
And then this is also like another question. It's like Luke says he's turning 13 in a couple weeks. I don't know if that means a couple weeks or a couple months. I mean, who cares? Um,
Does that
why do
make
they
him a
have baby?
Capricorn? No.
Gotcha.
I mean,
Gotcha.
he did do a lot of planning, I have to say. He planned for almost everything.
I I will go on record. A Capricorn man is the worst man I have ever encountered. I do not fuck with Capricorn men, and I never will again. So
I mean, it tracks.
we're
All
out of
right,
here.
sorry. Go
Of
go
course,
on with
so many women in my life that I love, Capricorn women. So you guys, you got it all figured out. A Taurus woman, if you're listening, I'm not gonna fuck with you anymore. Sorry. Like, you're out. Um, but oh man, what Luke might be a Capricorn. What do we think Garrett is?
Oh,
Maybe
jeez. I don't know. He was like so scared of Luke and like he's my friend, he's my only friend. And then
and he's
but he's
kind
so
of got
passive,
he's he's a little passive, but he's like
little
not
mischievous,
there, that's a
like
good word. I'm like
yeah.
he's got like a little streak to him where he does, like dumb little kid boy stuff.
He's he's not truly doing anything with a lot of like malice. Like he's not intending to he doesn't know that his actions are going to like truly harm somebody. So like whenever people started getting hurt, he's like, "Oh shit, I'm in too deep." But it's like I can't back out now because this is my only friend and I'm going to go to jail and I'm going to die.
Maybe a
I was a
cancer?
little sad. I was thinking cancer. I was a little sad when he died though. I felt bad. He was like trying to say I want my mom and uh I was like,
Okay,
no.
but here's the thing. We can't feel bad for Garrett either. They show
Ugh. He's
Okay.
just a baby.
No.
I know.
No. No. Um, okay. So okay, this is the part of the podcast where we kind of have to stay on track. So we're following along. You summarized it really well, and then we have to like kind of break down like these people and what's going on because it is so dreadful. It's so awful. Like Luke sucks, dude. He sucks so bad and it's awful.
It does.
And like you had brought up like mommy issues and stuff like that. And when you go back, because this movie tells you everything you need to know. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, like, of course, like we have opportunities to discuss things, but like we're just talking about what's there. We're not like being like, oh, well, this is what they meant by that, and the
We're
curtains
not
were
in for
blue.
we're not that deep. Um, no, because Yuri mentioned she noticed yesterday when we were watching it that he towards the end of the movie, when Ashley is tied up with the duct tape and the lights, and she realizes she's like, "You were never gonna let me go anyway, were you?" And he goes, "You got me." And he mentions, well, my mother stopped holding me or whatever, like holding me and stuff like that. And she goes, "I know why." And then just stonewalls him after that. Beautiful.
Brilliant.
But Yuri also mentioned she's like, oh, she's also like slowing down her heart rate because she knows that he's probably going to kill her. And so that she doesn't bleed out as fast.
That that's interesting.
Because you can just see her try to like go really like calm and like zen and like, so, and it's crazy. And then obviously she puts the duct tape on, like he stabs her in the neck. She waits and then somehow puts duct tape on it.
Plot.
Um, yeah. And okay, but after he stabs Ashley, he goes up to his room, he's trying to figure it out, and he lays in bed. And when the parents get home, when he wakes up, he wakes up in his mother's arms. And
He
she's like
wakes
holding,
up.
quote unquote, and she's like holding him and like rocking him and stuff like that. And you can just see him like that's all he just wanted to be held by his mother again, like that, I think. And so
It's
that's where I was like, mommy issues galore.
well, yeah, because it's like you get toxic masculinity all over the place. Like every single conversation is dripping in like ugh. And then
Mm-hmm.
like you just get like a full on like not his extent, but like a long legs exposition. He's like, when I was young, my mom used to hold me. And like he just putting it out there, like admitting, acknowledging and admitting his feelings and
Mm-hmm.
what he wants, which is kind of interesting in terms of like this whole movie. He's been like, oh, well, this and that, and Ashley, and
Right.
I want you, and what about this? And like he's always playing like at like this high level of suggestion. But then we get this, and he's just like putting it all out there. And I loved at the end when Ashley does stonewall him because that's what like pisses him off is he's not getting a reaction. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think as women, we've probably all gotten, random weird DMs that's like, oh, you're so beautiful. And like, even if you like didn't even see it because you get like message requests and then you just look at things and then it's like 2 hours later, if you haven't responded, ugly bitch.
Yeah.
And it's
It's
like, okay, all
it's
right.
it's a
I wasn't
means to
ugly
an
2 hours
end.
ago.
Right. And it's a means to an end for a lot of people of like, let me see what I can get. And then if I can't get it, you're a stupid, ugly bitch. And I never liked you anyway. I hope you die.
Me
And I'm like,
too.
oh, girl, we're on the same page. What do you mean?
I
Nobody wants
just
to live in this economy.
no. So yeah, the whole there's so much to discuss in terms of like our talking points, but the movie, thank God the movie is literally only an hour and a half. Like if this was like 105-minute movie, it would be too much. Like
I
it's
was pissed off the whole time. I can only do that for so long before I snap.
yeah. Well, and okay, so Better Watch Out um was a movie that Katrina and I talked about doing a couple years ago. Like we thought
Hmm.
a couple years ago we were gonna do like a double podcast month and we were gonna do Black Christmas and this movie. And then isn't it cool how we did none of those at the time?
Neither one.
So we did Black Christmas last year as like a follow-up to what we were gonna do like the year before. And then, I mean, you all heard on the episode last month if you listened. We were immediately like, okay, we know which Christmas movie it's gonna be. Like this
Hmm.
was a 2 year in the making. So don't think we are crazy about next year for Halloween. We're gonna do Freddy versus Jason. We do plan these things out.
We are
Um,
earth signs. There are plans. They just may not be obvious to everyone.
yeah, we
Okay?
got this. We're just the same kind of little crazy here. But I think because of the state of the world and the lives we've lived in the past couple years, because I haven't watched the movie since we talked about doing it a couple years ago, watching it now, it just feels so much more horrific. I mean, like, do you feel any differently than you did before?
Absolutely. Like, there, the first time watching it a few years ago, I was like, oh, that's a crazy twist. But, fuck that kid. She got out of there. But now watching it, it's like, oh, this is bad. Oh, this is hard because it's every single person out there is like, at least in like the United States of America, like we have this patriarchal system that allows a lot of these men to get away with these feelings and beliefs that they're better and deserve more than women. And it's just in the past few years, I think I've the longer the longer I have not been in a relationship with a man, the the more harsh I feel I've become, like thinking of maybe not even harsh, but less forgiving in allowing a lot of like stereotypes and toxic masculinities just pass by me. And so
Mm-hmm.
watching this, it's a lot harder because it's like, I just want to reach for the screen and fucking, like, I don't even know. Because I do think that his mother has a lot to do with it because she exudes the most toxic masculinity between the two parents. And I'm like, he learns it from somewhere. Whether
Well,
it could be the internet, it could be the movies, it could be video games. Because have you heard little boys in video games, like live chats, of how they speak to women? Like they are like, get back in the kitchen, make me a sandwich. And that's the easy part of it. Like, you're a fat, ugly bitch, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, just because a woman will go in the chat and say hello and they know it's a woman, they will just start dogging her and like being rude and demeaning. And it's like, for what?
I have no answer to it.
Yeah.
It's just
So, yes.
nonsensical.
Well, and I think people pretend that, oh, men are the logical ones. Where's the
No,
logic?
no,
Where
no,
is
that's
it?
their own propaganda.
It
Um,
is because I'm like, what logic? What are you talking about? This is not making sense to anybody but you.
no, there were I see this like not interview, but like speech thing from Reese Witherspoon. It's from several years ago, but it pops up every so often.
Mm.
Talking about like where she reads scripts and she dreads seeing like a woman's line being like looking at a man, what do we do now? Because she's like puts her hands on her hips, like looking around. She's like, when have you ever been around a woman in a crisis situation and she did not figure out something to do?
The
And she was
last person
like,
we're asking is a
she,
man.
she was like, and I don't believe that this was in her speech, but I have seen like different things like over the years where, it's common where people will be like, if you tell your kid like, hey, if you're ever in trouble, look for a woman. Look
Or a
for
mom.
yeah,
Scream
look
mom.
look
See who
for
turns around.
oh yeah, have you seen that trend? I think it's on TikTok where like it'll be somebody and like their little caption thing is like, oh no, I don't really ever want kids, like maternal isn't really for me. And then it'll be like, mom, and then like whoever that person is like looking
Hmm.
because we're like, oh, I'm mom now. Like something's going
Yeah.
on where we need mom. I'm mom. I'll figure it out. And that stuff, we just have to be like, it's not, we have to look out for each other because just no one fucking else is.
Yeah.
And it's a disgusting way to live, but then we're crazy for overthinking everything. And then it's like, okay, like let me just show you all
It,
the proof. Have you seen that one thing where I saw it on like maybe Twitter or something, and it was like, had to walk a girl home, and then this was how I have to get home. Like, is anybody worried about my safety? And it was like a foggy sidewalk, and then someone like commented on it, and it was like, fog also exists for women. And it's like,
oh
you
my
really want
God.
some kind of like medal? Like,
Medal of Honor. Like, what the fuck do you mean?
like you
Well,
braved the horrors for the day.
it's so frustrating because it's like, it's one of those things where it's, what about me? What about what I need? What do you need? You have everything you need. You don't need anything.
Mm-mm.
What, you want a presence to be respected and feared? Sure, you have it. What do you
Yeah,
like?
I'm afraid of you.
And this girl posted a TikTok the other day. She's like, "Oh my God, I got so scared." Like, she was in her hot tub and she's like, "Oh my God, for a minute I thought like a man was stalking me outside my hot tub. Turns out it was just a bear." And then she shows like a video of a bear next to the porch. She's still in the hot tub.
Yeah,
And then
that's
these girls were like in their hotel room and like freaking out because this dude followed them or found out their hotel room number and was like knocking on their door like incessantly. And in the comments it says, "I've never had a bear follow me to my hotel before."
it's just I mean, we can talk about uh, I'm not good at like accents like Giselle like Pellico or whatever, that lady in France.
Oh, I've heard about that. Yeah. And I just saw that they sentenced like 50 men.
50 of
Um,
the men, not even
50 of,
everyone.
right. They just sentenced 50 men for, I mean, if you're not aware, basically her husband was drugging her and posting online and allowing these men to come over and do whatever they want with his wife while she was drugged. And she had no idea. They recorded it. There are videos,
For
the
years.
messages for years. And I think it was like over 70 plus men that are documented at least. And 50 of them have been sentenced, or one of them's on the run, I think. But like, she had no idea. And all these men were like, well, she didn't say no. She was drugged by her husband, the person you're supposed to like trust the most in this world is the person that you marry. And it's,
Well, and it's just insane. Like, I think there's a few different ways we can like even segue in that discussion alone. Like, first off, props to her. Like, she is the real like person of the year. She's like, no, like I don't care if my court case is public. Like, this one on my watch, this will never happen to anyone else
mm-hmm,
ever again. And the way that she has just taken all of this with grace, and the fact that she like is still alive and like
absolutely.
hasn't put herself like out of her own misery. Like I'm getting emotional. Like it's just a disgusting thing. And then you hear men talking about like, oh, like women need us to protect them. It's like, who do we need fucking protection from? You. Like it's just
Well,
so disgusting. And then you have the people, and like this is kind of like the comments to bring it back to the movie. It's like there were some men who were like, "Oh no," like they saw like the husband posting in like Reddit or whatever it was. It's like, no, like I'm not really into that." But you knew about it. You knew and you did nothing. And that's exactly like who Garrett is in this movie. And it's like
mm-hmm.
this is why we can't sympathize with Garrett. We can't feel bad that he died. Like he's just as bad because he
Right.
allowed it to happen. And it's just disgusting. I'm gonna stop crying. It's too
Yeah.
early.
Well, and it's one of those things where it's like we we shouldn't have to tell you that you should do something. It should be in you to want to do something, to want to like I want this to stop. I have the power. I should do it. You shouldn't need convincing. Nobody should have to ask you. Nobody should have to like hint to like, oh, maybe you should do something. Like, because there are times, like people are getting there are so many they call it the bystander effect, like when something's happening in public and nobody's doing anything. You know who's not doing anything usually? Men. But you know who typically does stand up and does go and do something? The woman that's there. And she forces the man to help her with the situation. And it's mind-boggling because men are supposed to be these like brave and strong and fearless, people, but they're not. They're selfish and
No,
they
it's
don't
it's just
care.
their own propaganda, but their own propaganda is hurting them because men are like, well, what about me? What about my emotions? And it's like, no, none of us are saying you can't have emotions and express yourself. We're the ones trying to get you to express yourself in a healthy manner. Your own people are the ones telling you to bottle it all up and like process things through violence, violent rhetoric, power. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I I don't care if you can lift a couch better than I can. How's your heart? How's your soul?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what's interesting is there is that, I don't even know, like men who say, like, I tried to express my emotions and tell someone how I felt, and they just shut me down and I'm never doing it again. And I'm like, well, maybe that was the wrong person to do that with because there are a lot of women that have toxic masculinity in them. But at the same time, what have you done to her in the past that is going to make her cold and react coldly towards you when you tell her like this really hurt my feelings, blah 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 blah? Not to be victim blaming, but like what did you do? Because most women, I say most because it's not all, are like what's the word? There are some women out there that feel, men should be men, whatever that means, and don't like it. Okay, maybe don't be with that woman. Find a woman who does care about your feelings.
And it's just, and none of these suggestions that you and I are making are things that are going to change society overnight. Like, everyone has their own shit we have to work with. Like, we are still people at our core. And it's just absolutely ridiculous the lengths we have to go to because you and I, as women, we're sitting here like talking it out ourselves on what men should be doing. Like, why is it our job to fix them? And it's just, I'm not gonna fix you. I'm not gonna fix you. I'm not gonna fix you. Fix yourself and then come back to me like I can't. And I'm not gonna. And that's why, that's one reason to even be like, it's not worth it. I would rather do me by myself. I I'm not gonna worry about you. And I will
Mhm.
be completely fulfilled. I have built my life with people I love and that people I feel love me. And I have passion projects and like hobbies and a job that like pisses me off sometimes, but like honestly, like really it's fine. And I have, overall a decent family. I mean, nobody's perfect, but like I'm fine. So I don't need to add to anything else. It's just frustrating to be a functioning member of society and witness all of the horror that like we live every day. I don't have to find it in
Yeah.
a movie.
And I think one of the things that you said that maybe just needs emphasis is like when you say that you say to add to your life. I feel like there are a lot of partners that don't add to your life because of like their traumas. There's like they start taking a lot of things. Like a lot of women, when they get in relationships with men, they require a lot of help. Like it's like having another child. It's like they're not helping you, they're hurting you. So it's like when choosing a partner, they should add to your life. They shouldn't make it harder. They shouldn't make it any of this. Like you should be relieved that they're there. Like if you're in a bad situation and you're like, oh my God, thank God my wife or my husband is here. Like that's how you should feel. You shouldn't feel like, oh my God, I can't believe they're gonna like make this even worse now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people feel that way, and it's sad.
It is really sad. And to have a fucking disclaimer, like, and of course, for, heterosexual men, yeah, your female partner should also add to your life as well.
Mm-hmm.
But as much as women constantly think about like, oh, like, well, I don't want to stress out my husband or I don't want to add this stuff, so I'll just like take it on. Men categorically don't think about whatever they're doing or not doing and how it affects their partner. So when we're having these conversations, we are disparaging you because we're disparaging you as a genre, not anything else. And like, I mean, listen to this conversation that you and I are having right now. When was the last time we specifically brought up a scene? Because everything that we're discussing is just in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
They just put it to like on pen and paper with a story. Everything we're
Well,
talking about is happening here.
yeah, and I think what's the thing that if there are men listening and you've gotten
Hi.
this far, hello, if you've gotten this far and you feel defensive and you feel like this doesn't describe me, congratulations, then it probably doesn't. But your reaction of feeling like annoyed or angry because like we're talking about men like this is also part of the problem. Like we aren't talking about you if we're not talking about you. But if it is you, get some therapy. See why it pisses you off. See what about us talking about this? Like, we don't even know you most likely. So what is it about women talking in their lived experiences pisses you off because it doesn't invalidate your experiences as a man or who you are. So take
Well,
that into consideration before you get pissed off that we're just generalizing all men. Because maybe it's not you. Congratulations.
exactly. And that's like where it has to go in. And I think that that's why anybody would feel bad for Garrett in this movie because we know Luke is a psycho. And once Ashley realizes that Garrett has been playing this home invader while Luke has been trying to protect her and be all macho. And he's like, I'm gonna go get my dad's gun, and like gives her a hug, and then like heroically leaves and comes back, and then they're hiding in the closet. And once Ashley realizes like actually what's going on, she goes off. She berates both boys. You're just a child. How fucking dare you? Like there was a part like Ashley and Luke were hiding in the attic, and they have like a little floor ladder thing,
Mm-hmm.
and she like falls back, and she's like, I could have broken my neck. Like, honey, your problems are just starting.
Right.
But and she goes off absolutely correctly. But when I'm watching, I'm like, oh God, like you're just pissing him off.
But
Like
she
you're in
has no
danger.
idea. She's never seen this side of him before. Like he's hidden it the whole time. So it's like she has no idea what he's capable of. Like she's like he's a 12-year-old boy. Like what the fuck? I'm gonna go tell your parents. And I think that's really what the trigger was like don't fucking tell my parents because like his throughout this whole movie he's like my mom is gonna be so pissed because of the carpet, because of the smoke, because of the like he uses that as his like excuse of like well I had to kill um Ricky because Garrett smoked in the house and I had to blame it on somebody because my mom would know. And I'm like, you had to kill somebody? You couldn't just say someone like she had a boyfriend over and he smoked and now he's gone? Like he's trying to like wrap these things in logic, but he just is like, I'm gonna do
Demented.
what I want to do, and then I'm gonna try and instead of thinking about it logically, he wants to do what he does, do what he wants to do, and then somehow wrap it in like a shroud of logic. Like, just kidding.
No, he's disgusting. So he slaps Ashley across the face, which ends up basically pushing her down the stairs because she's
I
like,
think
I'm
he
gonna go
pistol
call your
whips her.
parents. Is it?
Because, well, you don't really see it that
Maybe.
well because like when you pan back up to the top of the stairs, he's like doing this like with a gun against his
Mm,
face. So for him to hit her that hard, I think he pistol whipped her.
okay, so maybe. She's
Knocked out.
yeah, she's out. She as like she's kind of waking up, taped to a chair in the kitchen, you're hearing Luke and Garrett talking all like happy-go-lucky about like Princess Bubblegum from Adventure Time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just like sexualizing different characters and like which one like they prefer over another. And they're like, well, her pussy tastes like bubblegum. And I'm like, bitch, you wouldn't eat pussy anyway.
He
Like
definitely wouldn't.
that's something like Marissa and I talk about like with different characters. We're like, he eats pussy. And that's like a good thing.
Yeah, but
Um,
and I feel like there's different categories of that. It's like, is it with joy or is it just doing it as a means to an end? Because there's a difference.
there is a difference. And what I saw something like this week, like I don't know, like maybe like some real comments or whatever that like and I'm paraphrasing, but it was like a woman giving a blowjob is sexual slavery because she receives no pleasure and you don't like get anything out of it. So like don't do it. And I'm like, okay, like there's a conversation here. It's like, I see
Mm-hmm.
your point, but then there's also enthusiasm for your partner, enthusiasm for the act. There's also doing things unselfishly, like even if you don't specifically receive pleasure for it because it's something nice for your partner. And you would also hope that in that relationship, their partner is also doing something nice for them without any expectation. But like the thought of a blowjob being sexual slavery, like I laughed. I was like,
Yeah,
girl,
that's
come on now.
we're going a little too far here.
So, but then there's that like one thing I told you about that it's like I don't care about a man's pleasure. So it's like, nah. There's nuance to this.
Yeah, it's nothing is black and white, and it's honestly the fact that like we're having these discussions and it's so obvious to us, and the fact that it would not be obvious to a lot of people is like, oh, it's a little because I mean, it wasn't that obvious to me, 3 years ago, but like the difference in maybe I need to rewatch more movies and through the new lens of being a 30-year-old instead of a 28-year-old.
It's different though, isn't it?
Gross.
Like, doesn't
It
it
is.
unfortunately like unlock a new corner in your brain and you're like, wish I didn't have that.
Yeah. Well, and it makes me review like past experiences of my own and be like, damn it, shouldn't have let that slide. Like, shouldn't have something like it. So it kind of like teaches you like, okay, well, when the next time that this happens, because it's probably gonna happen again in your life, we're not gonna let it slide. And
Mhm.
so now we get viewed as these like bitter old hags because like we're not letting people disrespect us when we put boundaries down and they aren't respecting our boundaries. Like,
I will wear that as a badge of honor for the rest of my life. Like, oh, am I a bitter old hag or did I just unlearn bad behavior and only accept better treatment for myself?
yeah. And that's literally something I said earlier this week was like, she set a boundary and said she's not accepting this, and you're upset. Like, you cannot be upset with her boundary of how she expects to be treated and talked to. Like, you get it.
Hmm.
If you get it, you get it, okay? If you don't, you don't. So I am coming into my speaking out more era because I don't know. I freeze a lot in conversations and I'm trying not to. I'm trying to just say what I want. It's
Yeah.
very difficult.
And that's okay to also learn new things and have new perspectives. And I think that that's something I'll use my parents as an example. If you try to teach them anything, especially about like, we'll just throw the term politics out there,
Sure.
and then you want to be like, hey, well, because of this, this, and this, they're like, well, you're just attacking me. And it's like, no, I'm trying to give you information to allow you to absorb and then make new decisions. It's not an
Hmm.
attack on quote unquote ignorance, but like people will take that and be like, oh, well, I'm just so bad and I did all this. And it's like, yeah, so what are you going to do with that information now? Are we going to move forward and take your opportunity to learn and grow? Or are you just going to stomp your feet harder and be an asshole? Which my
Yeah.
parents usually pick wrong. But you gotta, that's just the
Well,
whole thing. It's like, no one's going to be mad at you for taking new information, digesting it, and then doing something new.
mhm.
That's growth.
I think that having discussions with people you disagree with is a really good potential for growth, as like not even like to change your perspective, but just for you as a person to understand why some people may think differently than you. As frustrating as it might be, sometimes the goal of those conversations is not to change that person's mind, but to just let them know, like, hey, you may think that way, but I don't. So be respectful. And there are some things that, like, if you disagree with, I'm like, some of those are a little too, like, this is my lifestyle. Like, you can't disagree with, like, who I am as a person because I'm already who I am. Like, that's not changing. I'm not going to not be gay just because you disagree with it. So if you disagree with it, fine.
Don't
Don't
do
talk
it.
to me then. Don't be gay. That's what I always say. You don't like gay marriage, don't get gay married. You don't like abortions, don't get one. But you don't have the right to dictate everybody else's life because of your beliefs.
Well, and that's just the
Uh,
whole thing. It's like, you don't like it, so I'm not allowed to do it, but I don't like what you do, but how dare I infringe on you?
uh,
Pick a side.
truly. But anyway, let's get back into the movie a little bit and I think we should talk about Ashley and some of the things that I think she did really well.
Or
Like,
perfect angel princess, who's not perfect, or an angel or a princess, but like,
and we love that.
I ride for Ashley. You have to.
You know, I just had the thought of like we most of these movies that we do specifically us, we do a lot of like final girl movies, right? Why is it always a final girl? Like, are there a lot of like horror movies that have final dudes? Like, why are
Black
they not
Phone.
the, that's a boy though, it's a child.
Okay,
Okay, that
sorry.
isn't,
I didn't realize that his age made him not a man.
well, no, because he's being, if he was a
Well, okay,
man, that,
okay,
because
but
it's a
let's have
woman
this
or a child. That's
conversation.
not
I was
a
gonna
woman or a
say
child.
he's a child, so he's basically a woman. Nobody cares.
Right, because yeah, nobody cares about his feelings or blah 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 or anything like that. So like, who's the final dude?
I'm gonna go back and look through all our episodes.
I'm
Not
trying to think.
not Johnny Depp in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, not
Um
him. He did not make it. Well, and that's the thing. It's like I think all these horror movies are based on, you know, a woman or a child or somebody who is, what's the word?
marginalized
Yes, that's the word.
ish, kind of
Right. In some way, like
weaker.
escaping or surviving something else. Right. Like, why isn't it? Oh, I mean, I guess we're gonna do Freddy versus Jason next year. So
We'll
like
see who
maybe one.
wins. If somebody does, I don't know.
I don't even think that either of them die, honestly. Like they can't die. They're not real. I guess those aren't people. They're not
O-
humans. What are
Okay,
they? I don't
so
know.
to go over all the episodes that we've done, Tremors, our boys make it.
They do. They do. But you said that wasn't horror. So
I just said out of our episodes. Let's not
okay,
split
okay.
hairs here.
Okay. Sorry, sorry.
Um, Black Christmas? Nope. The Witch? Nope.
Nope.
The
Nope.
Boy? Nope. Black Phone, technically a male. Ricky survives sleepaway camp. Um,
True.
Silent Hill, Silence of the Lambs, Midsummer does not survive.
Nope.
Nightmare does not survive. Ready or Not? Nope.
Creep
Uh,
doesn't survive.
nope. Insidious, you kind of. I mean, yeah. I mean, the
Sure.
men, the father and the son are more
The
targeted.
focal point. But that's also a child. So if it focuses on the dad, then sure. But he got stuck.
He does get his own arc, like, and he
He
survived
does.
his childhood story and then it got
And
passed on. So, like,
okay, we'll let
I'll take
Insidious
it.
go. Yeah, I'll allow it.
Longlegs? Nope.
Nope.
Malevolent? Nope. Incident in a Ghost Land?
Definitely
Nope.
nope.
I Know What You Did Last Summer? Ray and Julie survive.
Yeah.
And then there's gonna be that new one. Hereditary? Nope. Creep? Nope. Friday the 13th? No. No. No.
No.
No.
No.
There's no boys. Halloween? No
No.
boys. I mean, there's like the little kid, but like he's not
Right.
this thing. Barbarian? Definitely not. Autopsy of Jane Doe. Both the dad and the son die in that, right?
Yep. They do.
Yeah, that's it. Well,
So there's
oh, Jennifer's
there's
body. Chip dies. R.I.P. Chip.
so
R.I.P. Colin.
yeah, so I
Scream.
feel like it's always a
Gone.
final girl. There's never really like if a final girl it doesn't exist, then everybody just dies, I guess, in the movies.
Well, and then like also consider like horror being like I'm using this term so loosely, women empowerment.
There we go.
Like
Badass bitches.
something where or like that Reese Witherspoon thing. It's like, look at all these women who figured out something to do, a way to
Right.
survive.
You want to know what they didn't do? Ask a man, what are we gonna do? What do I do
Or if they did,
now?
it was dumb and irrelevant.
I'm sure they paid for it in some aspect. So I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I think that's one of the things is like we talk about like all the toxic masculinity and all these things, but those things are not going to go away. So it's, how do we survive that? And Ashley did a great job. She realized very early on when she, shamed him, said, I'm going to tell your parents, it pissed him off, and he reacted poorly. And so throughout this movie, she's watching Luke's reaction to a lot of things and is basically trying to like learn who he is again because like the Luke she knows is not there anymore. Period. Which is
If he ever
ironic
was.
because right, because we watched Inside Out 2 last night. Have you seen it?
Mm-mm.
Well, basically I don't know. It's about like when you go through puberty, you kind of like lose who you are for a second because you're a little crazy with your hormones and stuff. It's just funny because like Luke is losing his shit. Like that's not maybe I mean, he's a bad example. Regardless, go moving on. But she sees how Luke treats Garrett, who's like his longtime best friend, and like she watches him kill Garrett because Garrett kissed her on the cheek.
And was trying to help her out.
Right. He said, don't like he started screaming, don't touch her. I told you not to touch her. And it's like, look what you made me do. Did it like screaming and then just instantly goes, takes a deep breath, and he's fine.
Yeah, he was
You
like, he
just
was
killed your
starting
best
to annoy
friend.
me anyway. And it's like, oh, like you were crazy, crazy before, but you're crazy, crazy, crazy.
Yeah. Like even before this, like she watched him kill her boyfriend Ricky with a can of paint. He home aloned him, and that was like you killed him, Garrett, because you said it wouldn't happen. Like you smoked in this house, you killed him. Because he's like, it was just pot. You didn't have to kill him. No, you killed him because you smoked pot in this house.
I mean, I will give Garrett the L on that. Not that it's like his fault, but his allowance of the behaviors to get this far and participating in the conversations, he is absolutely just as guilty.
Hmm.
Okay, like a super quick rundown of several, probably can't even fit all of the things that Luke and or Garrett have done throughout this movie. They have plotted and schemed how are they going to arouse Ashley by putting her in a state of defenselessness and fear, and then like picked out things like what would work. So they pick home invasion. They're doing like, the back doors open. They're doing the scary phone calls. They're seeing a shadow. There's somebody upstairs like running through things. Um, then when Ashley like figures out what's going on and she's pissed, then they put her into a hostage position, tying her to a chair. They're like kind of dastardly laughing about their plan, like ha 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 ha, like now we have control. They truth or dare to have Luke feel Ashley's boobs. And he's like, how did that feel? And she's like a little boy felt me up. She never loses her power. Like, God
Hmm.
bless Ashley. And then when Garrett is like, I want to touch her, Luke's like, absolutely not.
Yeah. Well, and then they try to drug her so that she won't remember anything. And then she destroys that plan because like he puts I was it like Visine or like something like eye drops or I think that's maybe what it
Well,
I
he
don't know. It
said
was in a
it's like
squeezy bottle. You can get
he's
anything
like,
on the playground.
yeah, I assume it was a roofie because he
It could
said
have
like
been.
you're gonna go sleep and not remember. Because she's like, when your parents get home, all of this stuff, and he's like, I've thought of everything. But then she like, you know,
Breaks the bottle.
yeah.
You
And
didn't
he's
think about
mad.
you didn't think about a backup drug, you stupid ass bitch. You know what? Strike one. Not a great Capricorn because you didn't think about a backup drug.
Well, not a backup drug, but he was just gonna kill her.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is like he was never intending to like go through with that plan because he invited her boyfriend and ex-boyfriend to the house. So like that he was going to kill them anyway because there was no way all three of those, I guess, quote unquote adults were gonna like let him get away with this. And
Well,
so
and
like
that's when Garrett like fully realizes because you see like before everything goes down, Ashley's on the phone with Ricky a couple of times and like the short and sweet is, they're having some issues in their relationship. She's moving, she's trying to move on. It's hard on them that there's going to be a separation, but it's for the best. And she goes back and forth on whether or not she wants Ricky to come over after Luke is going to go to bed. And then when Ricky mysteriously shows up, and then he's like, Ashley, you texted me. And she's like, no, I didn't. And then Garrett realizes Luke lured him there
mm-hmm.
after Ashley had also said, like during the truth or dare thing, she's like, "Did you ever tell Garrett that you killed his like hamster?" And Garrett's like all upset, and he's like, "I thought it was like he ran away." And then even later, Luke is like, "I did it on purpose." So like obviously silly serial killer vibes.
Oh,
Literally, I mean, he's
absolutely.
killing several people in one night. That is a serial killer. Um,
Now, in Black Christmas, one of the girls would disagree and say it's a spree killing, not a serial killing,
uh,
because a serial killer is over a span of time. A spree killer does it all at once.
Okay, you're right. You're right.
It's the beginnings of him becoming a serial killer.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, he's only 12. Can you?
I mean, he's got like what, three under his belt already then? The two boyfriends and Garrett, and
Yeah, because
attempted with Ashley.
so you're right. It is a
Ugh,
spree. You got
crazy.
me.
And then so like Ricky shows up and I'm like, you get this slight sense of hope because I'm like, he's an 18, 19-year-old man,
Man,
and he's coming into this thing with like two 12-year-old boys, but like he's not coming in with it with the knowledge that we have that these boys are crazy and have a plan and have Ashley already tied up. Like, so Ricky's looking around for her. He goes upstairs, and then Luke hits him in the over the head with a bat. And you're like, oh shit. But then he gets back up and grabs the bat, and I'm like, ugh, they gave me that false hope, and I was really mad at them for that. But
I know.
basically, as he's getting ready to like pummel Luke, Garrett comes up with a shotgun and was like, "I'll shoot, I'll shoot." And then he obviously has to like give in a little bit because he doesn't want to get shot.
The whole time when I was
So,
watching yesterday and like they were threatening with the gun, I'm like, literally shoot me. Being shot is better than like this humiliation.
yeah. Well, and I feel like throughout the whole thing, Luke had his handgun with him and he was like being so careless with it. Like he would rub it against his face, he would like do it, and they would just leave it on the counter. They would do this, do that. And then eventually, after the paint can situation with Ricky, um, Ashley goes to shoot like a warning shot because she gets the gun, she gets loose, somewhat loose because the chair's still attached to her. But
One side, one side of her
yeah,
body.
and it clicks. And Luke's like, well, a responsible gun owner always keeps the ammo separate. And I was so pissed off because like he's been using that to like hold them and keep them there, like as this intimidation factor. And I mean, it works because it's a gun and you don't know if it's loaded. You're not the one holding it. So then she runs. She almost gets away and gets hit with a brick. She
Well,
fights
and
Garrett a little bit
I was
too.
gonna say, like, here's this thing. It's like Luke makes Garrett run after Ashley, and he's like, dude, like we've gone too far. Like this is really bad. And then Luke spins it on Garrett, like, you're gonna go down for all of it. So like he's just complicit in this. And
Yeah.
then he's fighting
He cares about
Ashley.
himself.
He's fighting Ashley in the backyard. Like they had set up this tripwire. So in the home invasion, when Garrett, like, ran away because he was scared, they like made it look like he got shot. So
Hmm.
Ashley trips over this tripwire because, like, obviously Garrett's
It's
still
a trip
around.
wire.
Um, and then when Garrett is like trying to subdue Ashley, he's like, please, like, it'll be so much easier. And it's,
Oh,
oh,
just want to. I wish she had hit him harder, honestly. Like,
I know.
it
And it's like, I wish she
hit
just
him
had a little
so
bit
hard.
of different leverage so she could just like, she's still
Yeah,
got like her arm taped to one of the like chair arms. Like she could just like whap it around him.
yeah.
Uh, the one good thing about like being a sweaty person, I hope I would have sweat enough that I could have like freed myself from the duct tape.
I could
But
see that just being like with the sweat, like with your wrist. Use
like
the power of it. So yeah.
it's just so sad, and it's like you almost get away, and then she's got the carolers, but then the fucking brick, and then she gets tied up in the couch, like Christmas lights all around her and more duct tape. Like
And had to
it's
listen to the
devastating.
carolers. And he's like, I hope the hot cocoa keeps you
Oh,
warm.
that's right, because they come up to the door.
They do.
Their
And they
door.
Yeah. And she just has to sit there and like listen to him. Ugh, it's so because they're waiting for Jeremy to show up, who is the ex-boyfriend, because he called Jeremy and convinced him to come over.
The
So
Billy
this
from
whole
Stranger
time,
Things is in this movie.
is that
That's
Billy
who.
from
Hmm.
they dressed him so douchey, I could not tell.
Well, I mean, yeah, he looks, stylized way different.
Yeah.
Um, but
So
that's
he's
him.
yeah. Oh, nice. So yeah, Jeremy shows up eventually and he decides to go through the backyard, like through the backyard.
No, that's what Luke tells him on the phone when he's
Oh,
like,
I
"Oh,
missed
Ashley
that.
wants to talk to you. Like, come over here. Come through the back." It's really, really quick, but I did notice it this time.
I didn't notice that. So I don't know. Like it gives you another slight sense of hope because I'm like, it's another dude. He looks even douchier than the first dude. Like he's not gonna let a little 12-year-old boy boss him around, but then he's like he uses Ashley as leverage, or like he basically tells him to write an apology because that's what Ashley wants. And he just sits on the swing and writes, "I'm sorry." And he's like, "That's all you
For
have to say to
everything.
her?" Yeah. And he's like, "I'll say it to her face. Let me see her. I'll say it to her face."
Well, yeah, because that's the thing. Like, Luke has goaded Ashley this whole time about how like Jeremy was such a douchebag and like Ricky doesn't appreciate her. And it's a weird thing that like he doesn't know anything about any of her actual relationships. Like he
Well, no.
assumes like she's not a virgin and like Ashley had that was his first like truth or dare. It's like, how many guys have you slept with? And she's like, none. And then when Ricky's caught up next to her and she still says like she's a virgin, and he looks at Ricky and he's like, no way, like I know you were hitting that shit twice a day. And Ricky like says nothing. And he's like, oh my God, like you really didn't. Like he has no concept of real relationships.
No.
He's just
And
a child.
right. And it's where, I mean, honestly, like I'm assuming his parents didn't do that. And like it feels like this is like an internet thing that has like
Mm.
internet and movies have like really gotten into, and I'm like, people need to realize and tell their children movies are not real. The internet is also not real sometimes. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not.
Well,
But
that's what he
like,
says in the beginning when he's going back and forth between like fan fiction, porn sites, and then he's like, I read Maxim. Like, I know what women want. And I'm like, what? What?
you have no clue. Maxim doesn't know what women want. You don't know what women want. Like, and that's another thing. You're generalizing because not every woman wants the same thing.
True.
Let's
True,
talk
true.
about that. No, let's not talk about that. We've talked about way too many things. We have to talk about the movie now. We have to focus. Um, but so he lures Jeremy into the backyard and then he like gets him like I don't know. Jeremy was kind of like funny because he was like getting into the apology he wrote. It was like 10
Forwards.
word. Yeah, it was like
He
maximum.
fills up the whole page with like his signature for it. He's like,
Jer.
Jeremy.
She's got to know who it is. And but
I did
um
love when because Luke's trying to like keep him outside and have him sit on the swing because that's part of his plan. Um, but Jeremy's there to see Ashley. He wants to see Ashley, and Luke's like, "Have a seat over here," and he's like, "No," like says it exactly like that.
yeah.
And you're like, okay, like maybe this is like a formidable foe. Like maybe Jeremy that we've heard that's been so douchey, we don't really know why, but like maybe
Yeah.
this is it. Like the douchebag will save the day. No.
Please. No. Well, and that's the thing. Like the first time we see Jeremy, he's in his car, like hyping himself up. He's like, "Hey, Ashley, hi," like practicing. And I was like, "Oh, that's cute," But maybe he was a douchebag. I don't know. But I was like, okay.
He didn't
The
deserve
pr-
what he got,
no,
likely.
but the
Maybe.
problem was that he was wanting to win Ashley's favor again. So he's like, if Ashley did tell this little 12-year-old boy that she wanted a written apology and I don't do it, then I look like an asshole again. So like he's trying to like win her favor and do this again. And so anyway, Luke
It's
gets a noose,
yeah, he wins something else.
ties him up, and then uses their lawnmower to hoist him. And then he dies. And the notebook falls on the ground and we see Ashley, I'm sorry for everything. Some Jeremy. I don't know. It was very not poetic. So really not important to the plot at all. But
But it's
Jeremy's dead.
Luke's logic of ha ha ha, I could pin this all as like a murder suicide on Jeremy,
Yeah.
and I'm just a little
Because
boy.
well, and he does think on his feet a few times because he's like, um, in the end, so like Ashley's still tied up. So like he's taking care of Jeremy, Ricky, Garrett, everything. So now he's just him and Ashley. He's gotten what he wants. He's gotten her all to himself, basically. And this is where he goes into his little monologue, talking about my mom stopped holding me. And we talked about how she stonewalls him and be like, I know why she stopped holding you. And it pisses him off. So we think, She calmed herself because she knew what was coming, and to hopefully bleed less, he stabs her in the neck and then he goes up to bed. Well, his
After he
mom,
like montages like cleaning some
oh,
stuff
yes,
up, wiping his handprints off the gun.
putting it on
Uh,
Jeremy's. Like, so
yeah.
Jeremy shot Garrett and then hung himself. Make that make sense.
It's a weird, childish plan.
Right. He's seen what he's seen in movies about policing, and I'm sure like true crime or documentaries, or like he's seen, you know, we all watch, maybe not all of us, but like most of us love, NCIS, or what's the
SVU,
mind, what's the mind one?
Criminal Minds,
Yes,
Mindhunter.
tr Criminal Minds. So like we've all seen those. So it's like, oh, fingerprints on the gun, this and this. And then he gets in bed and he goes, the pencil, the hole in the cheek. And he goes
Oh yeah.
downstairs and he like puts the pencil hole in Ricky's cheek. But the deal with the pencil is his mom sets up a pencil on his doorknob so that she knows if he's been quote unquote sleepwalking, which he doesn't sleepwalk. It's a lie. Um, that he put up to save his friend Garrett. So basically, he's got to put the pencil on and then crawl
Out pencil on his
outside on the,
doorknob.
yes, on the doorknob to his bedroom. And then he has to go through another room, out onto the roof, and then come in through his bedroom window. And then as he's doing that, he's got a location tracker on his parents, which makes sense to me because I was like, how is he not freaking the fuck out? Like his parents could come home any minute. He's tracking them. He lied earlier when he said his parents took his phone away. Um, but he goes up on the roof. He almost drops the reindeer and the candy cane off of it. Like it's
Like the
supposed to be,
Christmas decorations.
yeah, it's supposed to be like suspenseful, but I'm like, no, I hope you get fucking caught, you son of a bitch. But he doesn't. Gets into and then he takes his sleeping pill and then lays down. And then we hear the mother scream, "Where's Luke? Oh my God, where's Luke?" And that's starts our ending scene, basically, of her holding him. He quote unquote wakes up. The
Mommy,
police,
what's
ugh,
happening? She's like, it's okay, baby. It's okay. Mommy's
I've
got you.
yeah, I hated all of it. And then as he's being held, we hear the police downstairs saying, we got an alive one. Well, first of all, a live one? How about a human being, first of all?
Yeah, this
Just a
one's still
person.
alive.
Um,
And Luke, like
so
his face, he goes,
yeah, and so the mom leaves to go check it out and see what's happening. So he goes to his window, and when he opens it, they're loading Ashley into the ambulance, and his face is just like blank. Like he's like, what the fuck? And as she's getting loaded in, she flips him off because she sees him in the window, and I love it. And that's the end of the movie.
I know. And it's like, I wish for like our satisfaction, like we got to know, like, was he punished for it? Like they lead you to believe, because like, why would we not believe Ashley?
Right, but
But
society.
sometimes we don't believe Ashley.
Ah,
So like
yeah.
I do want to know, like, did Luke actually get punished?
Well, and if they do believe him, or no, if they do believe Ashley, there is a possibility that he could end up in like an institution rather than prison, which I have heard that an institution is worse than prison. So I hope he got whatever is worse for him.
I there's no punishment that fits the crime.
No.
Like the way that things are all premeditated. Like because here's the thing. Luke this whole time is saying like how to check like my
It's
voice
what
cracks.
yeah.
Like
Fucking Mickey Mouse in the house.
so he's 12, almost 13.
Hmm.
Yes, when you're that age, especially with how our food is poisoned, we are experiencing and like starting to get like more mature emotions, feelings, hormones, blah blah blah. But I'm also thinking like I kind of feel like his behaviors are more of like 15, 16 in terms, because like he is so childish, but some things are a little more prepared and
Mhm.
advanced. So like some of it's hard to tell like what's movie and what's realistic in
Right.
terms of behavior. And like he's as tall or taller than Ashley. He's 12 years old. Why does he need a babysitter? I mean, like we know like his mom infantilizes him,
Right.
and that's like part of his like stunting a
Hmm.
little bit. So it's just like it's this like hard dichotomy of believability, but like the actions are believable. But like how long was he planning this? Because like if he within the last year or so has like really started to like have these like feelings of what he thinks is love and true love for Ashley and blah blah blah. But like he was so immediately ready to set something up to make himself look like a hero to gain her love, but had already set up, I'm gonna kill her and
And
everyone around
maybe,
her.
yeah, and I think that's where the mental illness sets in because it's like
Hey, 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 hey.
it's a
Some of
different one.
us.
It's a different mental illness, not yours, not yours. Um, it's he's got this like Ashley has to be mine or nothing at all, and she's moving away. So this is his last ditch effort to be like, if she rejects me anymore, I will have to kill her and her ex-boyfriends. That's kind of what I feel.
it's it's a well done movie that like pushes everything in. It's just like it's just so it's rough. It's rough. It's a hard watch. And when I was watching it with Marissa, she'd never seen it, and I didn't tell her the plot. I was just like, it's perfect for the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Like there has never been a movie that is so exactly our point of view when it comes to discussing themes and society and this world that we're living in more than this movie.
Yeah.
And
And
she's
it's
like, I'm not having a good time. And I'm like,
no, it
Me
it's not
neither.
about I mean, living in the I mean, our current state in the world is not a good time either. So that's just kind of what it is. So maybe for January we should do a fun one because that's also
What's your
my birthday
birthday?
month. So don't ask me what it's gonna be because I have not thought about it.
I was just gonna ask you, what is it gonna be?
Oh, that's a good question because the only other one I thought about was Tremors, and we've already done that.
You wanted
And
it
my
for so
only other,
long.
and then it just didn't work. But then the other one that I really love is Silent Hill, and we've already done that. So
Girl, you have interests.
sure, yeah, I am a very complex human being.
You are.
I like things.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I don't know. I don't have an opinion right now. I'm thinking about it. Too much pressure. I'm gonna have to Google. Anyway, is there anything else about this movie that you want to touch on before we wrap it up and we can take a deep breath and put it behind us and then edit this and get it out and say Merry Christmas, everybody.
Sorry,
And
everything
happy
sucks.
holidays. Yeah. Enjoy what you can. And then I don't even want to say Happy New Year
Mm,
because
mm.
I don't want, you know
I don't
what?
know,
I don't
dude.
want, it's 2024 forever. Okay. We're not going into
No, not
2025.
2024 forever. Can we go back to like, I don't know, 2006 was like all right. Let's head
I
back.
don't even remember what was happening in 2000.
2009 was pretty good. Twilight was out, the first one. So
2008,
I'll take that. I could drive.
2009. Well, no, that's the year my parents got divorced, so it was not a fun
Oh,
time for
okay.
me.
Well, yeah, how about this? Every year sucks. It just keeps getting worse.
Yeah, enjoy what you can while you can. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
Sure.
Or get out of here quickly and painless. That's my wish for you. I just think in terms of this movie, like it's it's just really sad. I think, so much of the conversation that we've had, it it leads to the conversation about what men can do. Like when we took a little recording break here, Katrina sent me this TikTok about like some interview on the street kind of thing to young men. It's like, what do you do to make women around you feel safe? And some people were like, I don't know. I don't think about it. I don't know. And then there were a couple guys that were like, well, like if I am walking somewhere and it just so happens like I feel like I'm getting like too close to like a woman or a couple women, I either like make sure to keep some distance or I'll cross the
Hmm.
street or maybe like I'll just like get around them and pass them so they can see me. This one guy was like, well, I'll go to the bar and order the drinks that my friends want just in case someone tries to do anything, which I think, anybody could spin that as like, oh, well, he wants to do something to drink, but like
Right.
that's not the conversation that we're having. Um, it's just kind of like Katrina posed a question to me how we can do this, and it's like women, the general category of women and the general category of men, these issues with toxic masculinity, women aren't going to be the ones who can fix it. It's up to men to fix it and hold other men accountable. And if you, as a man, are the man that you want to preach that you are, then be that man who does stand up for women, who takes your privilege and position of power to influence your circle and call out bad behavior because like the little bit of chiding and like, man, I didn't mean it, man, that you're gonna get is nothing compared to if I was to say, hey, stop that. That's not funny. You ugly fat bitch. Like, you're terrible. Like,
Hmm.
you're not gonna suffer the same way that a woman is. Take it. And you're
Yeah.
gonna gain more respect. And if the people that you're surrounding yourself with don't want to be better, is that really the circle you want to be in? Think
I
about
was
that.
just gonna say, like, who your friends are reflect who you are as a person as well. So, like, oh, would do this, and that was disgusting. I would never. Kyle's cheating on his wife. Kyle's doing this. Kyle's blah blah blah. Maybe don't be friends with Kyle because you're you still being friends with him is you saying it's okay.
Yep.
And you being passive is also what we're talking about with you're not you're not on our team. And if you're not on our team, thanks for letting us know. Fuck off.
Yeah, that's a great way. It's like, thanks for telling me. Bye.
Yeah. So this was a frustrating movie. Um, it's very telling and it was not a lot of fun. So for January, I have no idea what we're doing, but it is my birthday, so I get to choose. So I choose that it is a surprise for everybody, including myself, and I will figure it out.
Okay.
Otherwise, happy holidays. I hope the new year goes amazingly. Putting out all the positivity I can because I can't handle anything else. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. A message to my fellow women. I just want you to know I support you and I stand with you and I'll always fight for you. And that's just who we have to be. And I'm happy to do that.
Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you guys for listening. We hope that you enjoyed our episode and we look forward to hearing from you.
Find us on Twitter or Instagram to request a movie or even just to discuss your thoughts at Booze and Boobs. Or send us an email, boozeandboobs@gmail.com.
Yeah, and we're working on turning this into a thing. So if you can please follow us on Patreon, our account there is Booze and Boobs also.
And what are some of the benefits to joining our Patreon?
Oh, Katrina, I am so glad that you asked. As a patron, you will get early release episodes, bloopers, mini episodes where we showcase scenes from the movies that we're talking about or just conversations that we're having that we had to cut from our recording.
All that and more. And they're fun tiers. You can be an A cup, a C cup, or you can join the Triple D Plus group like us.
We truly appreciate your support and we look forward to growing our following to create more content for listeners like you.
So we'll see you next time. Or else.
Yeah, let's end it with a threat.